Good morning, pupils. You are welcome to today's mathematics class. This morning we'll be looking at compound interest, and I would like to quickly say something about simple interest. From the previous lesson, you've been taught how to calculate a simple interest on a fixed capital. And at this point, I need to strike the difference between compound interest and simple interest. So while compound interest is calculated on changing principal, the simple interest is calculated on a fixed principal. So what that means is, if you are given a certain rate, you are given a time, duration, and you ask to find the simple interest, that principal is the same throughout your calculation. But for compound interest, the principal for compound interest keep changing yearly, year after year. That is the major difference between compound interest and simple interest. And let me quickly say too that most business transactions of these days are done on compound interest. You now see the reason why we cannot but learn how to calculate compound interest on a particular fixed changing principal. Alright, let's go as I illustrate how to solve this using the examples on the board. Now I have two methods I'm going to introduce to you for calculating compound interest. I have a formula method and I have a yearly method. Now I'm going to use these two methods to calculate the compound interest using this example. Right, so let's start with the formula method. Now the formula method says that the last amount is equals to the product of the principal and 1 plus the rate. The rate is always in percentage, right, raised to power n. So where your A is the last amount, your P is the principal, and then your R is your rate in percentage, right? N is the number of years involved. Number of years involved. Right, so now with what we have now, if you put together all your parameters, calculate the compound interest on 35,000. This is your principal, so my P is 35,000. Now, at 5% interest rate, that's your rate, 5%, and then the rate for 3 years, that's your time, which is your N, 3 years. Alright, so applying the formula, we have A equals to amount equals to principal plus into bracket 1 plus R, which is your rate over 100, raised to power N. Right, so let's slot in our data. Then we have A, the amount will be equals to, the principal is 35,000, as you can see, into bracket 1 plus rate, which is the rate now is what? 5 over 100 raised to power 3 years, which is our N, 3. So at this point, you need to be careful with the way you manipulate your fractions and the whole numbers, so that you don't get yourself locked up while trying to multiply and reduce to the lowest term. Right, so you see what I'm going to do here? I'm going to repeat my 35,000. Why I'm going to solve these to bring them together as a whole, as a mixed fraction. So 1 plus 5 over 100 is one whole number, 5 over 100. Then you find the cube of that. Right, so A will give us 35,000. Now this can also be written in improper fraction. 100 times 1 is 100 plus 5 is 105. So you have 105 over 100. Right, then you find the cube of that. So we can repeat this as amount, the last amount equals to 35,000. The cube of this is multiplying this by itself in 3 places. Right, it will be times 105 over 100. Why this is over 1? Times 105 over 100 times 105 over 100. So this is what I've expanded, what I have here in index form, and this is the expanded form. Right, so I can deal with the zeros at the extreme. I have 2 zeros going with that. 1 0 can cut part of this out. So my last amount will give me 35 times 105 times 105 times 105. All divided by, this is 10 and this is 100. That gives us 1000. Now if you find the product of 35 times 105 times 105 times 105, you are going to get a total of 40 million. So my last amount is 40 million. We have a 516,875. That's what it's going to give you. And don't forget, we are still dividing by 1,000. Now with this 1,000, I can use a shifting method and bring in a decimal point into this place while I cancel this. Right? We've been taught that how to divide by multiples of 10. So that means my last amount will be giving me a total of 40,516.875. And if you look at it very well, we're talking about money here. It should be in 2 decimal places. So if you write this one to 2 decimal places, you know what this one will add up to this. So A will be equals to, my last amount will be equals to 40,516 naira 88 kobo. Now, this is the total amount I have at the end. So, plus the interest. So, the interest added to the amount I had, that's the principal, 35,000, is what made a total of this 40,516 naira 88 kobo. So, to bring out my compound interest, CI, then I will say 40,516.88 minus the initial principal, which was 35,000. So if you find the difference of these two, you'll be having a sum of 5,516 naira 88 kobo. So this is the compound interest that is calculated on that sum of money using the formula method. Now let's go together as I use the yearly method, calculation on yearly basis. So using the yearly method. Now in this case, you will see my principal changing from year to year. At the beginning of any year, I use a new principal, and that's what really made the difference between compound interest and simple interest. So I start with year 1. So from year 1, let's see what happens. The principal at the beginning of this year 1 is just as given in the question. That is a sum of 35,000. Right? Now, so I'm going to find the simple interest at the end of this year that will be calculated on this principal. So the simple interest formula, this is where we're going to apply it, is still our principal rate time over 100. Now, if I apply this one, my principal is 35,000. My rate from the information given is 5, and then your time will be 1. Please be careful. That's why I said compound interest is calculated on yearly basis on changing principal. So in this case, your time can no longer be 3. It won't be 3. You take it yearly. So if you are taking it yearly, you are taking it one after the other. So that will be 1, 1, and so on and so forth like that. So divided by 100. Now, if you reduce this one with these two extreme zeros, I'll be having my interest at the end of the first year. That's why I wrote I1 will be equals to 35 times 5 times 1. Now, and if you find the product of this, it will give you your interest at the end of year 1 will be a sum of 1,000, right? If you multiply by that, that should be, oh sorry, something is missing here. I omitted a 0 from here, right? Times 5, right? Times 1. So that will give you a sum of 1,750 naira. So this is my interest at the end of year 1. Now, so what's the amount? I need to find the amount at the end of year 1. My amount is always the principal plus the interest. So now that is a sum of the principal, which is 35,000 plus 1,750. So my amount at the end of year 1 will give me, this is plus 1, that is 36, will give us 36,750. Now, automatically, this amount at the end of year 1 becomes the principal at the beginning of year 2. Right, so what do I say? My principal at the beginning of year 2 will become 36,750. Then we find the interest that is calculated on this principal, on this new principal at the year 2. So the interest at year 2 will still be the same formula, PRT, your simple interest formula. So if you apply this on your principal, your new principal is 36,750 times your rate, which is 5, and times 1. So you divide this one by 100, right? We can cut this off from here. So what we have left is the interest for the second year is 3,675 times 5 times 1, all divided by 10, right? If you find the product of these two, it's going to give you a sum of, we're having 18. This is 5. We have 18,375 divided by 10, right? If you shift your decimal point using this 0, you're going to have your decimal point here. So that means my interest at the end of the year 2 will be equal to 1,837.5. So this is 1,837 naira 50 kobo. 0.5. You can add a 0 here to complete the 2 digits, right? So at this point, I need to find the amount that I'm having at the end of year 2. So the amount for year 2 will be equal to the principal, the new principal for year 2. That is 36,750 plus 1,837 naira 50 kobo, right? If you find the sum of these, it should give you a total of let's see what we have here. That is 38,000. You have 38,587 naira 50 kobo. So this is the amount I'm having at the end of year 2. So this amount at the end of year 2 automatically becomes the principal at the beginning of year 3. So now we are in the final year, because the time we're given is 3 years. So we're in the final year. So year 3 principal, I'll call that P3, will become 38,587 naira 50 kobo. So we go back, same step, interest at the year 3, still the same formula, your PRT over 100, right? So your principal, your new principal is 38,587.50 times 5, your rate, times 1, and then we divide by 100, right? So if we go, let's go to the next page to see this, right? So your new interest at the end of year 3, if you look at it here, is I will have to find the product. I will not want to divide here. So what I need to do here, let's come back to this place. So I tell you, there is no way I can cut off this 0 with this because of this decimal point. The only thing these zeros will do is to shift the decimal point 2 more digits forward, right? So that's the only way, in case I want to probably manipulate my decimal point. That's the only way I'm going to do it. So, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to multiply this out and then still leave my 0. So if you multiply these two out, you'll be having a total of 100. I'll be having 192,000. And we have 937.5 divided by 100. Right, so that's what we'll be having if you multiply that out. Now, if you divide by 100, your decimal point comes from here and shifts inside here. Right, so I have my interest to be 1,929 naira. Then I have a 375. Now, I'm going to write this one to 2 decimal places because that's what your money should be. So if you approximate that, your interest at the end of the 3rd year will be equal to 1,929 naira 38 kobo. So this is what we're having at the end of the 3rd year. So let's find the amount at the end of the 3rd year. The amount at the end of 3rd year will be the principal of year 3, which is 38,587 naira 50 kobo plus 1,929 naira 38 kobo. And if you find the sum of these, your amount at the end of year 3 will give you a total of 40,000. You'll be having a sum of 40,516 naira 88 kobo. That's what we're having, 88 kobo. Now, my compound interest is into this amount. So to bring it out, it will be the amount at the end of year 3, which is 40,516 naira 88 kobo, minus the principal at the very beginning, which is 35,000, right? Because I'm at the point of bringing out my compound interest. So that's why I'm referring to the principal at the beginning of the question of the year, right? So with this one, you will have a total of 5,516 naira 88 kobo. Now, if you take a look at the two methods, right, I'm having the same result here. This is the method for the yearly calculation, and this is the result I got from the formula calculation. So whichever method you use, you are meant to get the same answer. I have an exercise for you, right? You have to calculate the compound interest on, this is the principal, this is the rate, and then this is the number of years. Now you are advised to use any method that appeals to you, or a method that you feel you can easily solve, either using the formula method or yearly method. Thank you very much. We have come to the end of today's class. I'll look forward to seeing you next class. Stay safe, stay connected. Thank you very much.